I'm Maxx Sterling. Welcome to LarpGasm. Today, we're going to make my Trans Am Wasteland approved with a brand new paint job. And it's so easy, you can do it too. Max, why would I want to make my car look like a rusted out piece of shit? Well, a couple of reasons. One, maybe you attend some sort of event that you can take vehicles to, but they need to look the part, something like Wasteland Weekend. Well, if you don't want to use your own car or you can't afford to have a dedicated vehicle for that, this is a quick solution to make your car look the part, make it look like a rusted out shit heap. Also, do you do parades? It's Halloween time of year. Maybe if you want to put your car in a parade and you want to make it look a little bit spooky, you want to make it look like a piece of shit, you got some friends that want to dress up post-apocalyptic and cruise the neighborhood, hey, this is a great way to do that. Also, maybe you just go to a LARP and you want to have a car parked somewhere that you can sort of fight around for immersion. This is a good way to go about doing it. So, how do we do it? You're going to need to get your hands on some of this paint here. It is washable Tempera paint, okay? You're going to need to get colors that you can mix to make it look like rust. They don't just sell rust. So you need to get the colors to make it look the part. And that's pretty much it. So start by getting yourself a couple gallons of this paint. It's cheaper to buy it in the gallons, and then that way if you want to do it more than once, you might have some left over. I got brown, orange, yellow, and red. With those colors, I believe I can make a sufficient rust color. I'm just going to use a roller to paint it on, but if you have a spray gun, you can use that. However you want to do it to make it work for you, I'm just going to roll it on though and use brushes to touch up certain areas. Okay, I got some dollar store painting equipment here, and this should be more than enough than what we need to do a car. So we got our little roller, we got some foam to do the trim, and we got a brush in case we need to fill in any gaps. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to mix the rust color in this little paint tray here and see how that works out. So we're gonna use brown to start as our base. Now we're gonna make a couple different shades of rust so we can hit some highs and lows on the car and just really try to sell the effect more. So we're gonna start with brown, and I'm gonna slowly add some red, orange, and maybe even yellow to get what we think looks like a rust color. So a little bit of brown, probably about a quarter cup to a half cup. Probably about an eighth a cup of orange. Well, honestly, I would say that brown, that orange looks pretty damn close. So you might be able to get by with just two colors. But I'm going to throw some red in here and a little bit more brown to darken it up because I want this to be a darker coat. The best thing about rust is it isn't perfect, it isn't uniform. So even if you don't mix this up to be consistent, it should still work out well for you. So this is what we're going to start with. And then we'll come back and keep making more in the same basic quantities as needed. Now keep in mind, if you decide to do this to your car, I make no claims that this is safe to your paint or your car. So if you fuck up your ride, that's not on me. You decide to do this, okay? Now what I'm going to do is wipe it down to make sure there's no dust. It has been waxed recently, but if you haven't waxed your car, I suggest you hit it with some wax first to further protect the paint and clear coat. If you have any trim that needs taped off, go ahead and tape that off with some masking tape, okay? Or use a piece of cardboard to block it when you're painting. Since we're doing it by hand and not airbrush, it shouldn't be too hard to control where the paint's going. So I'm just going to freehand this on my car, maybe use a little piece of paper, so I don't color outside the lines, but it's rust. So if it runs and does weird shit, that's how it's supposed to be. This doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to look like shit. I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward through all this so you can see the entire process in action. So sit back and enjoy. So it's kind of hard to tell from this distance, but let me tell you, from this angle, that car looks like it's fucked up. This is all the more paint I've used. Less than one tray to cover half the car. Now you could stop there. Now in the video it doesn't really show, but I'll do like a flyby shot at the end. But that car looks rusted, okay? Now I'm gonna do the rims next, but I need a paintbrush to do that. But I think you could get by half a car for this. That means that instead of buying gallons of paint, you could probably just buy the much smaller quarts of paint, and you could probably do this project for maybe under 10 bucks. Now I still have tons of paint left in that tray, probably enough to do the other side, but you can see that even in that short amount of time, the change that this car has gone through. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and mix up a few other batches of paint that are darker and lighter, so I can hit up some points on here to sort of sell it a little bit better. I would say right now, even if the camera's not picking it up, this car is probably a 10-footer. From where I'm standing right now, that looks fairly convincing. Now you get closer, you're gonna start to see the issues. So that's what we're gonna work on right now. All right, so what I'm mixing up now is basically a very bright sort of orange. And what we're going to do is very sparingly dab this on edges, and then if it looks too bright or wonky, we can always come back and go over it again with the other paint that we have, the darker color. Now I'm going to use a sponge to do this because I think that the sponge makes more of a rust looking effect. So you're starting to see some detail. Keep in mind, corners are going to rust out more. I mean, if you're a mechanic, you would know where trouble spots are. Rockers rust, corners rust. So make sure you try to get those areas with the highlights and make them look a lot worse than the rest of the car would be. Around the wheel wells are going to rust. Around all the edges, basically. So you hit those up. Now if it looks too bright, or if it looks more like you're about to drive your car into a fucking synthwave video, like I said, hit it up with the darker colors. But using the foam brush, it makes a texture, and like I said, rust isn't perfect. It basically follows a fucked up pattern. It's not always that bright, but you know, we're going for what people think rust looks like, not necessarily what rust actually looks like. So what I did here was I took, in all the areas where I hit the orange, I went back over with the roller, just really dry, maybe just a little bit of paint on it, okay? That way it sort of blends it all together. Now like I said, this is still looking like a 10-footer, but it's looking fairly convincing. Let me go ahead and do a little bit more detailed work on it. We're just going to let that dry, and then I'll give you a close-up inspection. Pro tip. Want to add some runs to your paint job? Get a wet rag, squeeze it on there. It works better when the paint isn't dry, but look at those runs. When it all comes out, you can always go right back over it again, but it'll give you that sort of, oh shit, this has been sitting for a long time and rusted effect. This works great for underneath mirrors, or if you have anything that sticks out on the vehicle, because that rust would have run down over time. So I'm going to start here in the front so you can see the side I didn't do versus the side I did do. And we'll get a close-up look so you can see some of that detail work I was doing that you probably couldn't see. When you're getting the detail work in, try to follow the contours of the body of the car. If you have any pre-existing damage from street racing, then go ahead and cover that up. It adds to the immersion. Don't be an idiot though. Don't cover your marker lights, your tail lights. If you're planning on driving this, you don't want to get pulled over. Now, assuming that you don't have chrome rims and, you know, drilled slotted rotors and painted calipers and stuff on your car, you know, these rims may turn out a little bit nicer for you. I'm not about to go in and paint those rotors and stuff, but you get the idea. If you have a solid wheel or you have hubcaps or something on your vehicle, then hey, you're good to go. In fact, depending on how interested you are in this, you may even want to get a shitty pair of rusted rims and just actually swap out tires and rims for when you do this particular thing. Now you can kind of see what I was saying. The further away you get, the better it looks. Now obviously starting with a red or dark colored car is going to be much smarter than starting with a very bright colored car or a white vehicle. If you do that, you're going to have to do a lot of coats to catch up. But if you start with something that's already going to lend itself favorably to being rusted, then you're halfway there. I'm going to do 2 drive-bys, one with the painted side, one with the non-painted side. Let you be the judge. Pro tip, if you have a car that's a convertible or has T-tops where people are going to be able to easily see your seats as you drive by, get some burlap sacks or some potato sacks, put them over your seats, use them as seat covers, maybe cut one up, put it on your dashboard. That way when you drive by, the interior looks just as fucked up as the outside. So, a few closing thoughts on this project. First off, this is what we call good enough. It's a 10-footer. This will work in parades, this will work at a LARP, this will work any place where people are going to see it from a short distance. If you're trying to enter a car show or people are going to be up close on it, this may not be good enough for you. Go buy yourself some blacks, some grays, some different colors. Get in all the nooks and crannies. Get yourself some rims that are already rusted up and put them on the car before you go. These are all things that you can do to really wasteland it up, okay, on a budget. The paint, I probably could have used quartz from Walmart for about $2 each. I got the roller from the dollar store. This could have been done for probably under $10, but I didn't know how much paint I would need to do the project. As far as the car itself, well, I'm happy with it. It didn't take very long, and I literally could have done this in a parking lot right before I go to an event. As far as cleanup, well, you can wait till it rains, or you can hose it off. It's washable. Temporary paint should come right off the car. And I'm going to show myself doing that so you see how that works as well. Now, as far as the car, for something like this, the best thing I could do right now is go drive down a dirty, dusty road, get the car completely covered in dust or even mud, but not, you know, too liquidy of mud, to really sort of splash this up a bit. If you're going out to an event in the desert or something, by the time you drive this there, your car will be fully immersed, okay? Starting with a darker colored car is a must. If I started with my white truck I have over here, I would still be painting. Now you can do with whatever you got, or a rental car, whatever you're trying to do, but try to get a darker colored vehicle. If you have something that already has a little bit of rust on it, hey, that much better. Just paint right over that shit. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you take this project on yourself, please go ahead and post a response. Like I said, did not take very long. Halloween's right around the bend. There's always events going on. If you just want to punch up your car and make it look post-apocalyptic for a weekend, hey, that's cool too. I know if you pull into LARP with this, people are going to think it's pretty damn cool. Also great for photo shoots. So, until next time, I'm Maxx Sterling. Adventure on. And now for cleanup.